Hello folks and welcome back to another movie recommendation. And seeing that it is the Halloween season, I'm going to be reviewing something horror related. And today's topic of discussion is a relatively obscure sci-fi horror film from 1990. And that film is Richard Stanley's Hardware. Let's dig in, shall we? In a post-apocalyptic future, a mysterious nomadic scavenger discovers the remains of a robot. He takes them to a local junk dealer to sell, and before the dealer can get to his desk, one of his customers, a former soldier played by Dylan McDermott, buys it off the scavenger. He then takes the robot remains home to his artistic girlfriend, who creates a sculpture out of it. However, one night she wakes up to discover that the robot has suddenly reassembled itself and is now on a murderous rampage through her apartment, and she now must do everything she can to survive the night. Now that's the basic rundown of the plot. Hardware was a film a friend of mine lent me, and I read a review of the film in Empire magazine also, which did get my interest piqued, and overall the film is enjoyable, but not in the way I initially thought. Let me make this clear. This movie is more about characters, atmosphere, and symbolic undertones. So if you were expecting a typical B sci-fi horror film about a killer robot and a large body count, then you may be disappointed. Now the film does deliver some of that, but it's a complete afterthought, as it is not until the last half hour where the rampage actually begins. Now this may either surprise you or bother you. It just depends on how you take to the film. I, for one, loved this movie. It's not perfect, but in some strange and screwy way, it's highly entertaining. Let's go through all the good points now, shall we? For one, the acting and performances are all around solid. Dylan McDermott and Stacey Travis do a fine job with their characters. William Hootkins, who you may remember as Lieutenant Eckhart from Tim Burton's Batman, plays a sick pervert named Lincoln. Not a pleasant character, but Hootkins makes the most of the character, and he is really creepy. My only gripe comes from John Lynch, who plays a character called Shades. At first he doesn't seem too bad, but man does his character become weird halfway through the movie, and it's never explained why. And his performance is laughably bad by that point. 2. The special effects, while not the selling point of the film, do their job adequately and do not look the least bit dated at all. But the real scene stealer is the cinematography. Every shot in this film is beautiful to look at. It has this really intense sunset look to it. The opening scene with the scavenger is a prime example. It looks like something out of a western. And even scenes from inside the apartment look great, where you can see the fiery orange city backdrop, which is a great contrast to the darker interiors. The music in the film is also very atmospheric and sets the mood perfectly. Now the film does have some negative points also, one being the editing in the final action scene. I don't know why, but it just seems very clunky to me every time the robot is in action. It looks as if the scenes are just mashed together, and the infrared POV from the robot can be very confusing to look at from time to time, because you really can't make out what's happening. 2. The film also contradicts some stuff with the plot here and there, more specifically in its science. I know this is science fiction, but the movie takes itself rather seriously, so I can't help but feel the film could have benefited from explaining its science realistically. A good example is a scene where Stacey Travis's character is hiding in a fridge to avoid the robot's infrared detection. Now you know that isn't supposed to work unless she was frozen stiff. And I must confess there was a part towards the climax of the film that left me a little confused. I am still not sure what exactly happened to Dylan McDermott's character. But all that aside, the film is not a total loss. It has plenty of nice visuals, mostly all good performances, decent practical effects, interesting undertones and symbolisms, as well as a good musical score. After seeing this film, I have become interested in director Richard Stanley, as he has now become one of my favourite directors. Something about Hardware just clicked with me on an atmospheric and visual level. Despite a few issues I have with it, the positives outweigh the negatives. And after this film, Richard Stanley directed another film with a similar look to it, called Dust Devil, which I have heard is even better than this film. And I look forward to seeing it, as it sounds very interesting. Now overall, I give Hardware 3.5 out of 5. While not perfect, it gives you more than just a killer robot on the loose, which for me is a big plus. For anyone interested in seeing this movie, it is available on Blu-ray and DVD from Umbrella Entertainment. The special features are okay at best. The best part of them is the audio commentary provided by the director Richard Stanley and his producer. The rest of the features are just some short films and mini docos that Stanley had made before and after Hardware. And there's also an old promo video included. Well, that's my review of Hardware, folks. Hope you all liked it, and I'll see you all later. Until then, take care.